From her coronation as the Queen of Coffee and Guava in a regional beauty pageant to her tumultuous marriage to El Chapo Guzmán, Emma Coronel lived in a world where fame, power, and crime took her from fashion runways to the pages of the most sinister headlines. Stay until the end to discover her story. In 1989, Emma was born in Santa Clara, California. Her childhood and adolescence were immersed in the dangerous drug world. Her father, Inés Coronel Barriras, was arrested in April 2013 in Agua Prieta, Sonora, for crimes against public health, the production, storage, and transportation of marijuana to Arizona by land. She was the niece of Ignacio Nacho Coronel, one of El Chapo's main partners in the criminal organization until his death in 2010, when he was killed by the army in the state of Jalisco. Emma holds dual citizenship. She was born in California, which makes it an American city as well as a Mexican one. Despite growing up in a rural area of Mexico, her exceptional beauty drew attention from an early age. In 2006, at just 17 years old, she was crowned the Queen of Coffee and Guava at a beauty pageant in Durango. This event marked a turning point in her life, as it was there that her path crossed with that of her future husband, El Chapo, with whom she fell in love instantly. At the celebration party, he approached the 17-year-old girl to dance with her. El Chapo was 49 years old and the most wanted drug trafficker in the world. Their marriage was finalized a year later when Emma was celebrating Davo's birthday in July 2007. Despite his notoriety as one of Mexico's most famous criminals, it is likely that she was unaware of her husband's activities, which is highly suspicious. At that time, he wasn't just a drug trafficker, but had also managed to escape from prison in 2001. According to some reports, during the marriage, they indicate that there was a major security operation. It's worth mentioning that there are still doubts about this marriage, as its legitimacy has been questioned, and to this day, it is not known for sure whether it was fake or not, but Emma is recognized as his wife. Emma was not El Chapo's first wife, but rather his third. A book titled Emma and the Other Ladies of Drug Trafficking reveals that in 1977, Joaquin married Alejandrina Salazar, a social worker. Curiously, they never formalized their divorce, which raises doubts about whether Emma had legal status as El Chapo's wife. In the face of this, Emma claimed that her union with El Chapo was governed by divine law, being the partner of one of the richest men in the world throughout their marriage. He never needed to look for a conventional job. He had professional aspirations. He studied communication sciences at the Autonomous University of Sinaloa. Although he never practiced it, he also demonstrated notable skills in his interactions with the press. These communication skills and his public presence may have influenced his marriage, which lasted for years. In 2011, the couple welcomed twin daughters. Although Emma received medical attention in Mexico, she traveled to California to give birth and ensure the girls received their birth certificate. Curiously, the father's name was suspiciously omitted from the birth certificate, possibly due to the $5 million reward offered for his capture. At the time, it is believed that El Chapo has 15 other children from previous relationships. Although only 10 were officially recognized in 2014 when the girls, when they were 3 years old, their father was arrested again. For El Chapo, being sent to prison wasn't a major concern since this was the second time he was arrested. His first escape was spectacular, using a cartel car and bribing. Virtually all of the prison staff don't have much information about Emma's involvement in the cartel, but it's a fact that they lent their support when they tried to free El Chapo from prison. Again, this time, he was being held in a maximum security prison, making an escape difficult. However, the cameras had unmonitored areas in each cell that coincided with the showers. So, El Chapo managed to escape through an elaborate system of underground tunnels that stretched for more than a mile, finally arriving at a property owned by none other than Emma Coronel. This detail further highlights Emma's deep connection to the cartel. The second escape, her husband's arrest, was short-lived, and in 2016, El Chapo was arrested again in a violent operation carried out by Mexican authorities. His escape inside the prison had been through a laundry cart and bribing virtually the entire prison staff. This motivated authorities to be much more relentless in their search. But the surprises didn't end there after El Chapo's capture in Mexico. He was extradited to the United States due to the widespread distribution of his narcotics in that country. He controlled 80% of drug trafficking in Chicago. His extradition took place on January 19, 2017. When the trial began in the United States, Emma Coronel attracted everyone's attention. Her beauty did not go unnoticed by photographers, and she was known for her style when entering and leaving the courtroom. This generated great media interest, and Emma's loyalty to her husband surprised many people. During the trial, she learned of the horrors perpetrated by her husband, including torture and murder, and even learned details about his extramarital relationship with Agustina Cabanillas, who, in addition to trafficking drugs for El Chapo, was his lover, despite Emma's repeated claims of innocence. The trial presented evidence indicating that she was not completely unrelated to the crime. El Chapo's bloodthirsty empire when they argued about their business affairs. It seemed like just another married couple talking about their respective workdays. The text messages between El Chapo and Coronel that were shown during the trial portrayed a married couple who discussed criminal activities as naturally as a wife remembering her husband. Even more disturbingly, they joked about how their children could grow up to be like their father. Our Kiki is brave. I'm going to give her AK-47 so she can be with me, one of the messages said. Life without El Chapo and with her husband in prison was difficult for Emma to predict. As the saying goes, any publicity is good, and the infamous recognition had turned her into a celebrity, even though she rarely shared content on social media. She had managed to amass a considerable following on Instagram and enjoyed the additional attention with plans. Concrete efforts in 2019 to launch her own fashion line inspired by El Chapo, which failed for obvious reasons. Although Emma's legal representative said that her client was planning to resume some pending projects, such as the clothing brand, on February 22, 2021, Emma was arrested at the Dulles International Airport, Virginia, initially accused of drug trafficking and possibly linked to being an operative for the Sinaloa cartel by Damaso Lopez Nunez, alias El Licenciado. She subsequently surrendered to U.S. law enforcement agencies, seeking a deal that would provide her with protection within the witness program in exchange for information about the cartel. In November the same year, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison for her involvement with the Sinaloa cartel. Emma pleaded guilty to a series of charges, including conspiracy and drug trafficking involving cocaine, heroin, amphetamine, and even marijuana crossing the United States border, as well as money laundering. The court also seized nearly $1.5 million. Although her sentence was initially scheduled to be served until 2024, in February 2022, Emma's defense obtained a reduction from 36 to 31 months in prison. Puerto Rican lawyer Mariel Colon, who also represented El Chapo, indicated that Coronel could be released before that period. She could qualify for a program that applies to inmates who are U.S. citizens. The Federal Bureau of Prisons set a tentative release date for September 13, 2023. Emma is currently free, but will be supervised. She likely had to collaborate with information she knew about her husband's activities. The Federal Bureau of Prisons also said that Coronel will now be on parole for the next 48 months during which he must remain within the judicial district assigned to him as government agents, any change of address, and look for a job. However, in either case, he could not leave his 2 daughters alone since their father was already behind bars. It is known that on August 30th, 2023, it was published that Joaquin El Chapo Guzmán, imprisoned in Florence, a prison in Colorado in the United States where he is serving a life sentence, sent a new letter and asked the judge to authorize him to see his wife Emma Coronel and his 2 minor daughters. We have finished this brief story. If you want more content, press the like button, subscribe, and activate the bell. See you in the next video.